Hey, and welcome into the Big Ten Huddle. I'm your host, JR, and today I have with me Lawrence France, aka Larry, as I call him. I don't know if he likes being called Larry or not. I think he
I
does.
It's both. It just depends on who it is, really. I'm kind of I don't say quite 50-50. It's probably 60% Larry, 40% Lawrence, depending on who it is. So
There you go. There
it's
you go.
fine.
So I'll be in the minority, the 40% here with Larry, but that works for me. We're gonna recap the Maryland football spring game here in 2025. I gotta say there was some non-surprises. There were some things that made me say ooh and ah, and there were some other things that kind of made me wince and say this can't be Mike Loxley's vision for the team. So we're gonna get into it all. Of course, Larry is an expert. Catch him over on IMS Radio 24/7 Sports, their Maryland podcast. Anything you want to say about that podcast or any of the work you do over there, Larry?
Yeah, we do it live on YouTube. So if you just search for IMS Radio or Inside Maryland Sports Radio, we generally go once a week. And then during the season, we go more often than that when there's a lot going on. During the summer, it's even less than once a week. But we do it on YouTube, so you can watch us there, and then it gets rendered down as an audio podcast as well, so you can listen to it on all the places where you get those.
Yeah, and they do great work over there. They got a guy named Jeff Ehrman who is just one of the most plugged in people that I've ever seen for just a team, not just for
Mhm.
Maryland, for a team in general. He does great work, and Larry always a good time over there. I gotta admit, Larry, one of my favorite podcasts, and this probably was not your favorite podcast, when you had all the analogies about Kevin Willard and everything else that was going on. I know this is a basketball episode, or this is a football episode, but I listen for
Oh,
the basketball content as well, and I had as much. I did not have as much disdain for Kevin as you guys did because you guys are much closer to the team. I still have disdain for him, but
yeah.
ultimately the hilarity of hearing you guys talk about it and crack jokes and everything, it was a really good time, and I got to commend you guys for how good of programming you had at that time.
Thank you. Well, the idea when you're doing a podcast is there's sort of two goals: to entertain and to inform.
Yep.
And Jeff, as you said, is the insider. He's got so much inside info, of which we're he delivers some of it on the podcast, some he saves for behind the premium wall on
For
the
sure.
message board, of course, right? But he's the guy who's kind of dropping the inside info. The other host, Paul Douglas, who's a great guy as well, knows his stuff. We're more almost fans in a way, but yeah, we do cover the team. We provide more of the entertainment angle of it, and we do give our opinions, and we are informed as well too. So there's those two kind of things. And I don't know, did you watch the episode where I got a little heated about?
Yeah, that was the
Yeah,
episode I was talking
I
about.
didn't
Yeah.
mean to do that, but it just bubbled up.
Yeah.
And I have this philosophy later in life as I've gotten older to let things go, because when you hate somebody and you have this, it's just this negative stuff inside of you, this anxiety that builds inside of you. It doesn't hurt them. You're hurting yourself, right? You got to let that stuff go. And I've lived by that pretty well. And it just kind of bubbled up, and that was my release. And now he can go do his thing and see ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. I'm glad Rodney Rice didn't follow you, or Jacoby Gillespie. Otherwise, I don't care.
Yeah.
It's over.
On to bigger and better things with Buzz
Yeah.
Williams now. So,
Yeah. We'll
believe it or
see.
not, this is a football podcast,
Yeah.
so we're going to get
Yeah.
to the football here now as well. But, Larry, I got to be honest, going into this game, I didn't know exactly what to expect. Obviously, the quarterback battle was something I was going to be intrigued by. The defense was something I wanted to keep an eye on, and the trenches, the line of scrimmage, everything like that. I think the biggest story coming out of this game, though, is obviously Christian Martin had a really good game. He kind of stole the show in this one. But
He did.
if you ask me, Malik Washington locked up the starting quarterback job as long as nothing strange happens in fall practice. He should be the starting quarterback coming into next season. It's unfortunate for Justin Martin. He's not necessarily been bad. I didn't think he was bad in this game, but that's just kind of how good Malik Washington and Christian Martin were in the game. What were your thoughts on the quarterbacks, Larry?
I don't know if I'd say locked.
Mm,
Right. Certainly Mike Loxley is not going to say that.
sure.
He's not going to say that now. He's going to wait until the fall competition. He won't. And he's very he won't ever say that. You won't find out until the first drive of the first game, probably. But it does look like Malik Washington, and it's a little different than last year because last year it was out of MJ Morris and Billy Edwards, which one is not going to lose you games? And Billy Edwards is a serviceable guy. He doesn't have the elite skills, but he's got every intangible that you want. He's a leader and all those things. And so he won the job. This year, it's very different because they all looked good. All three of them. Justin Martin, the least, he struggled in the first half a little bit, rebounded in the second half, did a little better. But Malik Washington, this might be hyperbole. I think he's going to be the best quarterback. NIL. We'll see what happens when somebody comes with an offer of $4 million next year. But I think he could be the best quarterback in Maryland since the 80s. Not joking.
Yeah.
Talia was good, but he was the best quarterback since the 80s. And I think he's better. He's young. He's a freshman, but man, does he have some skills. And everybody's talking about him in the hype, and it's hard not to buy into the hype because he's just good. And every time you see him, he does well. And obviously today he did really well. And the other thing that's great about him is he just loves Maryland. He is out recruiting for Maryland. He is Maryland Terps, Maryland Terps, Maryland Terps. He's and you love that in this era when everyone is so tied to just money figures and they're gone at the first better offer. So I think the vibes are really good right now, as opposed to last year. The vibes are not good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that can help a team galvanize and maybe translate on the field. I still am not going to say they're not going to be contending for the Big Ten. I keep toggling back and forth between about 4 and 6 wins still, despite what I just said. But I think after the game today and seeing Malik, I feel like 6 is more possible than the 4. The defense is a problem. You watched the front 7, particularly the defensive line, just got run over a little bit. They're small. And with the Big Ten lines, offensive lines, and all those teams, like we were talking about in the pre-show, there's going to be games where they just run over Maryland's defense. So that's a problem. They actually did get a transfer defensive lineman today from North Carolina. A guy named, what was his name? Joel Starlings. So, and he's rated about the same as the guys they lost last week in the portal. So then there's still time to get more of those guys. I feel like they still need like 2 more of those guys. But overall, really good vibes. The offense looks really good. And not just talent-wise, they looked more professional. Last year there were all these penalties for like false starts and things, and none of that this year. So maybe Pep Hamilton has already imprinted on the team. Who knows? So there's some good vibes right now. The running back room, if you want to say it that, or the group of running backs, I think they're going to be really good. Nolan Ray last year, he'll be a sophomore this year. Everybody, a lot of people were clamoring for him to start over Roman Hemby last year. He showed flashes where he just amazing moves, making people miss. And Hemby doesn't really do that. Hemby, if you give him a hole or you get him in the space, real good. And he can be a home run threat. Like he catches balls in the flat, and he'll probably be doing that a lot at Indiana this year. And I'm sure Signetti is going to be great at game planning for that. So I bet he'll have a good year. But I actually think Nolan Ray's a better running back. Not only that, they have a redshirt freshman named DeJuan Williams, who was hurt as a senior in high school, or would have been a high 4-star maybe, or at least a mid, and would have been gone to a higher program paying more money. He didn't play much last year. He looks really good, like a bulldozer, kind of the opposite of Nolan Ray. And they have a true freshman named Iverson Howard who's looking really good. So The quarterbacks and the running backs are kind of the two spots where you feel real good. The receivers, they lost Ty Felton and Caden Prather. Both got drafted. Maryland got 6 draft picks today.
Yeah, that's the other thing I was going to bring up.
Crazy. Well, if you're going to, we'll talk about it in a minute if you're going to bring it up. But they both got drafted, and I don't think they're going to have those 2 high-level guys. I think there's going to be about 5 guys who are kind of sharing the duty. And I think it's going to be a step back from last year, but I think they'll be okay. The biggest name is going to be Jalil Farouk, the transfer from Oklahoma, who almost committed to Maryland out of high school. The offensive line, some positivity there. Now, again, this is the thing with the spring game. Somebody gets a sack, yay. Oh, also somebody gave up a sack, boo. Right. Somebody threw a touchdown, yay. Oh, somebody gave up a touchdown. So it's like you don't really know.
Right.
But the offensive line looked a lot better than last year. They were, if you were going to rank the offensive lines in the Big Ten last year, if they weren't last, they were close to it. And right now, it doesn't look like they'll be that this year. So that alone is going to really help, in particular when you have a freshman quarterback who we think is going to be starting, Malik Washington. So that was a little bit of a positive as well. The offense has certainly shined. The defense struggled, particularly on the defensive line, and I think that's going to be the biggest issue. And I really hope that they make some more moves in the portal on the line, in addition to the one they already got today, who we don't know how he'll be because he just signed. But
right,
yeah.
Yeah, and the portal is closed at this point, but obviously, there's no closing date on when guys can sign with teams, right. So they'll be able to go to anybody that's currently in the portal and not signed with another team. So right. That's good news for Maryland there. I was going to point out the same thing. It's always kind of a catch-22 in these spring games. You see something good from a true freshman quarterback like Malik Washington, and then you're like, oh, but the secondary. And then you see a good run by the running back, and you're like, oh, the linebackers. And you see good push by the offensive line, you're like, oh, but the defensive line. It's always kind of the catch-22. I would say I don't think this season is going to bring anything we haven't already seen from a Mike Locksley run Maryland program in my mind. I do like your point about the professionalism and how guys looked kind of more on top of things. I think that was a difference from last year. I don't think that's something we've not seen before. I think we've seen that in years past with Maryland, but I think that that was something that was missing last year. I think even you said it on the podcast with Zach. Mike Locksley kind of lost the team a little bit last year, and that's really easy to do in this NIL era. And we're all kind of learning, we're all kind of growing and trying to figure it out. And so hopefully Mike Locksley has done that. My biggest thing for this team is even if Justin Martin is a starting quarterback, what happens if they lose 2-3 games in a row? What does the season outlook look like there? Because you don't want to win, 5 or 6 games? I think it was 5 games like Nebraska did, 5-0 to start the year. And then you lose your next, 5 or 6 games after that. And, you kind of lose, and then it just kind of compounds. And I think that's going to be the key for Maryland this year. As we've seen in the past, they're going to start out hot. They're going to do very well in August, September, as they've done most years, pretty much every year under Mike Locksley. I know there in the beginning it was a little bit tougher with some of the first teams, but again, you and Zach covered why those issues were there. But once Mike Locksley got up to speed, it really turned into a well-oiled machine in those years, and then it was about kind of keeping things going in the Big Ten. Do you have any thoughts on kind of that mental attitude? I know you didn't get a whole lot of time to talk with the players and stuff like that today, so that's probably hard to gauge. But, I just think the point you made about the professionalism, the way the players looked, that was a really insightful thing. And if you can expand on that a little bit.
I think there's that. The 2 new coordinators, there's always hope when the new coordinators come in. Hey, is there going to be a little bit of a culture change? So there's that. Yeah. They both have NFL experience, both of them, which is good. The other thing that I think is kind of providing hope for change and just hope in general is this influx of new players. There's kind of a changing of the guard going on the team, it feels like right now. A lot of the players who left, I think, are the ones who were disgruntled. They were getting offers in the portal, and Maryland had to make moneyball decisions
Hmm.
where can we afford this? Yeah, but we don't have the Ohio State budget, so we have to decide this guy or this guy. And so I think they're saying, all right, hey, Therese Davis, offensive lineman, we like you, but we're not paying you that. You got to go. You're not. It's a money ball. How much value are you getting per dollar? You're not
Right.
providing that much value. Sorry, he had gotten pushed out of the starting lineup by a true freshman, Jalen Gilchrist, who's the second highest rated player coming into the team this year, and got pushed from tackle to guard. So yeah, he left. And depth is a problem for Maryland every year, which is partly why they start off good and then throughout the year they start to fall back. So you want the depth, but also maybe you bring in these other guys who are providing 90% of the value at 25% of the cost, which I think I texted you that as well.
Right.
But so I think that's partly what the decision is. But go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think that is, a big part of this era in what coaches are trying to do and trying to learn. It's not just like, how do I keep a locker room together if this guy is making more than that guy, but it's also, how do I make sure these guys trust me, even if I have to say, no, you're not providing that much value financially. In the NFL, it's a really easy thing. You can just say, "Well, sorry, administration didn't want you or whatever." Like, it's you can kind of blame it on somebody else. In college football, there are GMs, but it's still tied very closely to the head coach, and
Right.
obviously the head coach is a big person involved in the culture there. So, anything else on that, Larry? And then I did want to bring up the draft picks today in the NFL draft and kind of get your thoughts on that really fast.
Yeah, I'd say the other thing that it makes me kind of happy, and it's tough now in the new era with this new paradigm when you talk about building a team over the course of years. It's hard to do because of NIL and the free transfer. But the House settlement's coming, and supposedly rules are supposedly coming in and enforcement on NIL. And if that happens, that helps a program like Maryland so much because there'll be some protection and a way to be able to keep some of these players that you're trying to develop over the course of years. And a lot of the people that flash today, they're freshmen and sophomores. A lot of them. The two receivers who might have had the best games, Mekhi White and Ryan Manning, freshman and sophomore. Joe Gilchrist is a true freshman who might end up starting, as I said, on the line. Malik Washington's a freshman. I talked about the three running backs, a sophomore and two freshmen. One's a redshirt. But on the defensive line, a guy named Bryce Jenkins has looked really good. He's a freshman.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's a cornerback named Braden Lee who's looking really good, a freshman. Trey Reddick is a linebacker, outside rusher kind of guy, maybe
Edge thing, yeah.
edge, whatever you want to call him. But he's a sophomore. So you
Mm-hmm.
have all these young guys, and if they can just get to six, keep the vibes, get to six, get to a bowl game, keep them together, and they're already starting off next year with a good class, maybe there's something happening. And when you got Malik Washington, it could be a program changer. Maybe there's something happening.
Yeah, next year you got Zion Ely committed right now. Emmanuel Iheanacho seems to be leaning a little bit toward Maryland. Maryland, at least last time I checked. I don't know if that's still the case or not, but that kind of
But
is.
conflicting reports on that.
Yeah,
Our intelligence insider info is saying that he is very heavy lean to Maryland. He is making his visits, and with NIL, you never know. But so
yep. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah,
So I think the biggest takeaway then is that this team is young, and if Mike Loxley can get the culture in a good place and they can reach, I mean,
yeah,
six, maybe, dare I say 7 wins, if they can get there with a bowl win
right.
or something like that, that's just going to bode even better for this
Yeah,
Maryland team in the future. All right, Larry, I didn't want to spend a ton of time on this, but I did think it was of note. And while we have our Terps fans listening to this episode, I did want to bring up Ty Felton, third round pick, Ruben. Help me out
Hip-
here.
Hippolyte,
Hypolite the third.
Hippolyte,
Yep,
Hippolyte.
he's a fourth round pick. Jordan Phillips and Dante Trader Jr. Which, by the way, Dante Trader Jr. really liked his game last year. Was kind of surprised he didn't go higher, but they're both fifth round picks. And then Caden Prather and I'm gonna get it wrong, so Larry, you're gonna have to help me on this one. Tommy a King's Besot, maybe
Akim Basote.
Akim Basote. There we go. Seventh round pick. Glendon Miller unfortunately did not get drafted. I didn't see if he was a free agent someplace or not, but I
I
imagine he
bet
will
he
be.
will be. Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine he will be. So, your thoughts on those guys drafted, leaving the program, stuff like that?
Well, my number one thought is I can't wait for the next time you and Jeff do your all
Oh,
your
the
stats
NFL,
the
yeah,
on the draft picks because
drafting.
Maryland, that's a good year for Maryland to get six
Mm-hmm.
picks, and they'll show up better in all the rankings and the stuff that you and Jeff do. I like those episodes you guys do with that. So that's good, but it's obviously good. If the more Maryland sends players to the NFL, the better to set that you can sell to recruits, and hopefully they get there and they excel, and it's just better for the program overall. You're bringing in kids, you can get to the NFL from Maryland clearly. So there was a while where they were getting one or none a year, and under Loxley, the recruiting has improved and it's shown. So it's a good thing.
Yeah, and if you can show that, then that means some players will even stay for possibly less money. You don't have to be the highest bid every single time. If you're just
Right.
competitive, there will be kids that say, well, I'm already at Maryland, or, I have family connected to Maryland, or I'm from here, whatever. And plus, they have a track record of getting guys to the NFL. It could be one more thing there. So, all right, Larry, we appreciate you being here. Any final thoughts or anything? Spring game, NFL draft, anything like that, Maryland wise, you want to get out there before we head on out?
I think we covered it. I'm always happy to come. I love you guys. I love your show, and I love contributing a little bit of Maryland info into the Big Ten. So Maryland's not the afterthought that they sometimes seem to be, football wise, at least, in the
I
Big
got a lot
Ten.
of praise
So
for Maryland basketball over on the basketball channel. So Maryland fans, if you think this guy's a little questionable on the football side, don't worry, you'll hear me preaching good things on the basketball side too.
yeah, well, as I've said to you guys a couple of times, the only way to get more positive comments is to play better, win
Yep,
some games, and then and then you guys will say positive things, right? So
exactly,
it's
exactly.
it's it's somewhat earned. So
There
you
you
have
go.
to, yeah.
There you go. All right, everybody. We appreciate you being here. Thanks for joining us. And thank you to Larry. Go check him out on IMS Radio, Inside Maryland Sports 24/7. All the stuff they got going on over there. Excellent work from Larry and excellent work with everybody over on IMS. We'll see you next time. Have a good one.